Hi everybody, my name is Tova Kaplan and I'm a COVID-19 fellow for AMP Global Youth. With AMP Global Youth, we want to elevate youth voices to reflect on the COVID-19 pandemic and talk about what issues really matter most to you. As you all know, COVID-19 has been an unprecedented event that has both affected and united the entire world. Billions of people have been greatly impacted, and we are still in the middle of this whole thing. And young people have been especially affected since schools and youth institutions were some of the first services to close down, and there's still a lot of uncertainty to the future of these institutions. For most of our lives, young people have been told to look forward to certain experiences like prom, graduation, college, all of that. And those are things that we might never get to experience anymore. This path that we've been expecting to go down doesn't even exist anymore, and we don't know where we're supposed to go. Adults, they have their whole lives to be adults, but you're only a teen for so long, and then you'll never be one again. And when we've been cut off from the things that have defined our identities for so long, like schools, friends, clubs, sports, religious organizations, stuff like that, we've had to figure out who we really are as people, and that's been really hard. Many young people have felt ignored or pushed aside, like we're an afterthought. Oh, that's cute, but let's talk about the actual issues, as if we don't really matter. We're just like a trivial thing that they don't really need to think about, that governments don't need to think about, even though COVID-19 is massively impacting us. And for example, one impact has been mental health. Many young people have been struggling massively with mental health. With social isolation, being cut off from our support systems. We've never experienced, for a lot of us, this level of stress before, and it's been really, really disruptive to our lives, especially with economic crises and just everything going on. It's very hard for young people to cope with that, and we haven't really been given many support systems or ways we can connect to overcome it. It's been really hard. The pandemic has also exposed many systemic problems in society that people in power have just been ignoring and pushing off for so long. But this year has shown that we really cannot afford to ignore these problems any longer. For example, with unemployment at just this high in America, the highest since the Great Depression, it's obvious that a lot of the social services that we have in place just aren't enough. When this crisis happened, our government was just scrambling to come up with a solution. And for a lot of people, it wasn't even close to enough. It's shown that rents are sky high. Even in good times, people can't afford it, and now it's impossible. Prices for goods and services are astronomical, and wages haven't kept up with it. People who don't have access to technology, these are all massive problems that we just chose to ignore, and suddenly we're realizing that these are super important and we can't move forward as a society without addressing them. For example, in Chicago, when schools moved online, there were thousands of homeless students and tens of thousands of low-income students who didn't have access to computers or Wi-Fi or the technology needed to access the services that we've been relying on for months. And we've realized as a society that we have to address this. We have to provide equitable access to these services. And also, for example, people with disabilities, how are they interacting with these new systems? How are they getting social services online? It's been really difficult, and we've realized that we really need to grapple with this as a society, how we're gonna provide support for everybody. So there are many uncertainties this year, but one thing is for sure, the world will never be the same after this pandemic. There will be a new world coming out of this, but we don't know who is going to be shaping that world. For good, for bad, for better, for worse, we don't know. But if we sit back and stay quiet, the important issues just won't be addressed, and the systemic changes that we desperately need just will not happen. That's why it's so important for young people to speak out and force society to hear us out, to give us a seat at the table. And if we work together, if we make our voices heard, we can create a more equitable, sustainable, and better world for all. Thank you so much for listening, and I really, really look forward to hearing all of your stories.